Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks again for spending time with me today with Wisdom on Wednesday. I'm hoping that your new year is off to a great start. Excited that you all have been sharing our content. You've been promoting our videos and sharing with me areas that we can improve. Thank you. Making sure we can get up our subscription account. So share, subscribe, so that we can spread the information so we can continue to grow. If this channel has been a blessing to you, it's been something that you've been telling your friends about, continue to share it. I know people may get annoyed with you, but do me a solid and keep sharing it so we can keep growing. So today, Wisdom on Wednesday, I have the opportunity to share with you some nuggets that I've learned. And my goal is to share some things with you that possibly either I learned them the hard way, or I learned these lessons not just necessarily through me, but I've learned them through observation of other people. So again, I'm not trying to come off as I know it all, because I don't, but I've lived in my 47 years, lots of mistakes, a lot of favor and a lot of grace. But today, a nugget that wise people should try to aspire to be. Wise people should be good listeners. Wise people should be good listeners. In today's society, many people are always waiting on their opportunity to share, waiting on their opportunity to speak, waiting on their opportunity to rebuttal. Many of us have been accused of many of things. Many of us have been criticized by our work ethic. We've been criticized by our commitment or lack thereof. And we always feel like we have to rebuttal, or we have to defend ourselves or make our position right in other people's eyes. But a tool, a skill set that I think is important for all wise people to attain is to learn to listen. You understand, far too many of our ears have been trained to only listen to compliments. Far too many of our ears have only been trained to listen to people saying sweet salutations about our character, our conduct, and the things that people can say about us that are rosary. But it's impossible to grow if you can only hear things that are good for you. Yep. We have to learn to listen. We need to listen to the things that people say that don't really care for us. We need to listen to what people are saying about our business, because every time a person shares their opinion, they're not necessarily wrong. I know I'm going to get some flack for this statement, but follow me with the thought. Learn to listen. Just because someone shares their opinion and you don't like it doesn't mean it's not the truth. Just because someone shares their opinion and you felt like they were out of pocket, their timing, their tone was wrong, all of those things can be true, accurate. But listen to the heart of the person. Listen to what they said. Listen to what they shared. Many people who are driven have been accused of being cold, callous, and not caring about people around them. Listen. It may hurt your feelings. It may bruise your armor. It may make you feel like they don't really know you. But what can happen is, if you're a wise person, you understand that I'm only wise because I'm moving in a positive direction. I'm only wise because I am taking things that I like and things that I don't like, and I'm making them work for my future. So if a person has a poor opinion of you, a person has a poor opinion of your work ethic, listen. Just because you listen doesn't mean that you have to adjust. But when you listen, you can evaluate and see if there's some truth to what they're saying. Listen to see if there's some things that you can adjust in the way you deliver information. Listen and see if it's an opportunity there. If somebody says that you get very defensive when I bring truth to you, listen. Because many times, friends, we get defensive because people bring up things that we already believe about ourselves. People often bring up things that we don't like about ourselves. And when they bring it up, it often reminds us of those things that we're already frustrated about. Or maybe I'll just talk about myself this day. That when somebody outlines something that you've already been struggling with, now it feels like people are piling on. Have you ever felt like that, wise friend? That it seems like everybody's bringing up the same thing. People saying you're inconsiderate. People are saying you're always late. People are saying that you don't value anybody else's time. People are saying you're overprotective of your children. can I share a secret with you? If you're hearing this from multiple people, listen. It might be the truth. The truth doesn't have to feel good, but the truth will ultimately set you free. We don't need to just listen. We need to actively listen. I had the opportunity that when I was in the U.S. Army, that when we stood in formation and the drill sergeants would call me out, or even when I got to my duty station, whenever an NCO or an officer would give me instruction, they did this practice that I've picked up, and I've carried it on in my leadership ability, that when they gave me instructions, they understood that my heart was racing. I was excited to please my NCO. I was excited to please my drill sergeant. So before I ran off in a fury trying to come back and complete the job that I've been given, they would ask me a question. When they gave me instruction, whether it was to go and give somebody else some information, whether it was to go and relieve somebody from guard duty, whatever it was, they would always ask me this question before I left. They would say, "Ruffin, what did you hear me say?" And 95% of the time, I will always say it back to them in a manner in which they did not say or mean. You see, friends, the technique in this is that oftentimes our mouths could be moving and somebody else's ears can be at a different speed. You can think you're a great communicator, and sometimes people don't understand what you're actually saying. I'm very guilty of that. That when you ask somebody, "What did you hear me say?" Now you have an opportunity to not assume. You have an opportunity to have clarity. You have an opportunity to go on your mission with the best information you can possibly have. What's the best information? Exactly what the person told you. It's not what you thought they said. It's not what you assumed they meant. It's not what you have already premeditated in your mind of what they're already wanting. And the best aspect of an active listener, if you don't understand and you want to be a wise person, stop the person and ask a question and say, "I don't fully understand what you're saying. Do you mind repeating it?" You see, the world will tell you that you're stupid or you're slow for asking questions if you don't have clarity. Well, I have the opposite view. If you can walk away from a conversation and you're not necessarily clear of the content of the person who was sharing their thoughts with you, actually, you may not be the smartest person if you can walk away when you just had the opportunity to ask that person for clarity. A wise person doesn't mind asking questions because they're listening. A wise person doesn't mind asking for clarity because they're actively listening. You see, an active listener doesn't just stand in front of the person nodding their head. An active listener is actually engaging their mind with the things that they're hearing and planning on how they can execute the information they've just heard. Active listening means that even though I may have a retort, I may have a question right here, I'm going to listen to make certain I can fully understand the content before and ask a question. Now, if the person is done giving me the information and I still don't understand, that's the time to ask the question. Because what it does is it nullifies frustration on both parties. I've seen marriages end because people can't listen. I've seen people in parent-child relationships just a wreck because people won't listen. When you active listen, it takes a discipline to keep your mouth closed and open your ears. Now, when you have the discipline to listen, what it shows is that you value what the person is saying to you. You value the person that's sharing information with you. But if you already think you know what that person is going to say, what it actually says is, "I'm standing in front of you, nodding my head, but what you have to say to me isn't important." An active listener can actually help a person with their idea. An active listener can say, "I can see what you're talking about. I think I understand what you've just shared with me. I'm going to give it back to you what I heard, and I'm humble enough for you to help me with the things that I misunderstood." You see, when you're wise, that doesn't mean you're all-knowing. A wise person doesn't mind using their resources. A wise person understands that they don't know everything. A wise person knows that I don't know everything, but I'm going to spend the time and investigate to find out what I don't know. And the best way to find out what you don't know is to listen, is to actively listen, attentively listening. Not just standing in front of a person, waiting for the conversation to stop, waiting for the discourse to stop, waiting for them to take a breath so you can interject your thoughts, but basically intently making certain you understand with the best of your ability. But if you don't understand as you're listening intently, you just simply ask a question. I didn't fully understand the direction that you were going in. Used a couple of 5-syllable words I'm not sure of. Can you help me understand what you just meant, or point me in the right direction of the resources that can help me fully understand what you've asked me to do? I know it's not exciting. I know it's not appealing, but if you want to be a wise person, you want to never miss out on information that can take you to the next level. And many times the things that you're praying for, many times the things that you're dreaming about, many times the advances you want in your career are in your manager's mouth, are in your pastor's mouth, are in your spouse's mouth. But in our spirits, we have a proclivity to always assume we know before we listen. So it's important to make certain that you discipline yourself to actively listen, intently listen, to be sure that you've heard what was being said and not assume something was said that never was. Friends, that's my time today. I brought my silver cup today, drink a little Java while I'm spending time with you. This is Ray with Wisdom on Wednesday. Have yourself a wonderful week. Looking forward to meeting up with you this time next week. Have yourself a wonderful day.